when we're doing this prep, if we want to fix it, we've got to go back to the occlusal. So you know you had the burr leaning totally distally the whole time. That's why you had a sloping pulpal floor, undercut marginal ridge, undercut axial, and then all the damage to the adjacent tooth. So let's just fix it. So we go back and we make a new margin on the lingual and make a new angle coming in. So we fix it by fixing the occlusal part first. Then we find a new margin on the facial and then cut straight in from that margin with the burr vertical. So whenever we fix something, typically we're going to go back and redo the occlusal part, so then we can use it to guide us when we go gingially. Now you don't have to put the axial there when you're. Now we can put the axial in a different place. We can put it right here. And cut away from the wall this way, and put the axial over here and cut away from the wall this way, and kind of ignore what you did before. That's going to give us a little better sense of which direction to look so that you can see where the axial is. When you look vertically downward, you can't see anything except for you can see the end of the burr, but you can't see what it's doing. This way, looking parallel to the contact downward at a 45-degree angle, I can see where I am axially, I can see how close I am to the adjacent tooth. I can find the corners, I can get rid of the excess, match the gingival part to the occlusal part on both sides. And now, even though you really overextended your margins facial-lingually, now at least we have nice flat walls, and you can see where to put the corner. And you can go gingially farther just for practice, even though you already have gingival clearance, but now you can do it again just for practice. Now you see you can control the axial wall because we're controlling the corners because we did a better job on the occlusal. Okay, so when you have a big problem on your prep, when you got all kinds of things going wrong, go back and fix what you can on the earlier steps, especially on the occlusal. Then when you go gingially, be back in control. See, here you're trying to go gingially, but you don't have a facial wall to use to go gingially. You don't have a lingual wall to use to go gingially. So there's no way your occlusal outline will guide you when you go gingially. So no matter how far out you are, I made a new wall over here, so now I know where to put the corner. I made a new wall over here, so now I know where to put the corner. Get rid of the excess. Get rid of the excess along the gingival margin. Looking the way I am right now, this is what I want to see you do immediately. Look the way I am and get rid of the excess all the way to the gingival margin, knowing that you're not leading the burr into the adjacent tooth because you're looking in the right direction. Okay? That's the key thing. Over here, you know, even if you slip and your burr cut in like this, well, then go back and redo it.
But it was widened.
Sure, okay, so it's wide. You'll learn how to control your margins later, but you've got to learn how to control your angles now and get clean margins. And then you can learn how to make the axial wall in the right place and get, you know, the corners defined well. And so don't just try to keep forcing the prep to go on and on and on. Go back a few steps, try to fix what you can, even if you have to really overextend. You've got to have a flat wall with a 90-degree angle. I don't care how much clearance you have, get a flat wall with a 90-degree angle, then you'll learn how to go gingially. Okay? All right, so work on that a little bit more, and then from 2 to 2:30 we'll take a little break. Okay. Okay, so your facial wall is still leaning outward, and so when the facial wall leans outward, it causes a little trouble getting a nice exit angle. See, at the gingival part, you have an acute angle.
Okay.
So make sure you're not leaning the burr facially. Keep it vertical.
Okay.
Then find your margin, find your angle, make the curve, find the corner, and then with the burr vertical, match the gingival part to the occlusal part. Okay? But make sure you have the burr vertical. Make sure you're not leaning it away from your eye. A lot of times people tend to do that. Okay, lingual side's a little bit better. We worked on that. Gingival floor. It'd be nice to make it flatter with the burr first, And then use the hand instrument to angle it gingerly a little more definitely. Okay, so this one you're not quite ready to go gingerly yet. Close.
Every time, like when I start going down, I'm just scared that I will nick the adjustment.
By down you mean gingerly, right?
Yes.
Well, do you know if you're hitting it? Can you see if you're hitting it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
then when you see yourself hitting it, just stop.
Yes.
Now, if you don't see yourself hitting it, you can't stop. That's how you damage the adjacent tooth. Okay. But we don't have a facial margin really. So let's go out and find a facial margin that's going to give us some clearance for sure. We would do that typically with the 330 burr. Again, I'm looking so I can see how close I am to the adjacent tooth when I try to find this margin. I want to have the burr as close as I can to the adjacent tooth. So that would be a better location. Then we're going to cut straight in. Again, this is what typically be done with the 330 burr. Now it's obtuse, so we need to make a 90-degree angle. So take your time, make a nice 90-degree angle, and make sure that wall is long enough. You want it to cut in far enough so it's beyond where you want to put the corner of the box.
Okay.
You had a very curved wall, so you couldn't find the corner of the box. Find the margin, find the angle, get the length, then make the curve to join the isthmus. Then when you go gingerly, you can define the internal line angle very nicely, and then that's what gives you the shape. And remember, if you don't want to hit the adjacent tooth, look this way. So you hit the burr a little bit like this. So you probably were tempted to try to look down the axis. And of course, when you do, you hit the adjacent tooth every time. Now let's clean up the lingual margin and the lingual wall a little bit. Even though you're overextended, let's get a nice flat wall with a clean margin. Then the corner, and then get rid of the excess so the gingival part matches the occlusal part. Let's do a little more. A little close. The closer you are to 90 with the occlusal part, the easier it is to get a nice proximal wall all the way down to the bottom. So now we got a nice corner there. You can put a corner over here, get rid of the excess along here. Now you can get rid of the excess along here because you have more clearance facially. Then use this corner and that corner to help you go gingerly by drilling holes in both of those corners. And then get rid of the excess. Now, your wall over here is too short. It's less than a millimeter. So look this way when you're doing the isthmus. Get close to marginal ridge, look this way. And make sure you go pulpally until this wall is 1.5 millimeters tall. Then you'll have the pulpal floor position where you want it, and then everything else gets a lot easier after that. Okay, so see if we can get some gingival clearance. We're going to stop this one in about 15 minutes at 2 o'clock, take a little bit of a break. Then we'll regroup and start up again on 2:30. Okay. I got to switch your mirror tip. Got some damage on it, so. Okay, so this one. Remember, when you angle the gingival floor, angle it all the way to the facial wall, all the way to the lingual wall. You still got a horizontal section over here on the lingual side. So we really try to make sure the gingival floor is really flat all the way to the margins. Then just angle it gingerly with the GMT. But make sure the angle is all the way to the facial, all the way to the lingual. All right, so let me see here. What do you think about this exit angle? It's giving you a little trouble as far as finding the corner of the box, isn't it? So what do you think about the exit angle at the margin?
Is it obtuse?
Well, tell me what you think. I want your opinion.
It is obtuse.
Okay, I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I think it's a nice 90-degree angle. How about that? I think that from here to here, that wall is pretty much perpendicular to the surface. But then you stopped and you started making this big curved area. What if you were to continue the angle that you have farther in?
Okay.
And then make a nice Gradual curve to join the isthmus. And then you can find the corner of the box maybe about right here. Look how much better to find that corner is now. And then you can get rid of the excess along that wall from the corner to the margin. Notice the direction I'm looking so I can see how close I am to the adjacent tooth. And now, that's the corner of the box right there, not here. When people get an obtuse angle in this far, they usually, it pushes the internal line angle too deep axially.
Okay.
On the other hand, over here you have a pretty nice margin and an angle, but you're not quite deep enough with your corner. Let's make it about right here. And then let's match the gingival part to the occlusal part all the way along here. So now we could have an axial wall that goes this way from the lingual and this way from the buccal, and boy, wouldn't that look good. So it's just this little area right in there where you overextended, but it's because you didn't have a long enough flat, straight 90-degree wall on the facial. You only came in a little bit and then you made this big curve, and that threw off the corner. Okay, I like your gingival clearance. Your gingival floor is fairly flat. Get rid of any excess you have over here. Use your hand instruments and you'll be looking pretty good. Other than the lingual extension, which we talked about before. Okay, so again, practice with your hand instruments. Try to put some retentive grooves in. You can put a retentive groove about right here, and that would work out just fine. But see what you can do to make that retentive groove so that in the future you can just do it as part of the routine prep. Okay? So the gingival floor over here, you see it got overextended gingially toward the facial. It was nice on the lingual side, still is. There's still a little bit of excess over here on the lingual side though. So once you find the corner, make sure you get rid of the excess. Now the 55 burr works beautifully for doing this, but you don't have to go deeper gingially on the facial side. You could have kept the floor at the same level all the way to that corner on the facial. That would have worked out fine. Okay, so on this one over here, you still need to get rid of the acute angle here. So we can go back to the margin and move the margin out farther. And then try to get a 90-degree angle. Keep doing it until you're happy with the angle. Nice, long, straight wall, perpendicular surface. Take your time. We're not in a hurry, as I said. But just make sure you get it coming in at the right angle. On the lingual side, you're pretty good. So now you're ready to go gingially. Use the 55 burr, put a corner about right here, another corner about right over here. Cut away from both of those sides. You'll probably be a little bit overextended gingially because you didn't have a contact to begin with. But see how the shape of the axial wall is starting to come out now? I've got the corners in the right place, so the shape of the axial wall automatically gets much better. Use your 55 burr now, get rid of the excess all the way to the margin. Try to work with your hand instruments, and we'll start again at 2:30.